Mr. Chris Cerino dives into his latest hunting adventures, and yes, he's back in the woods, all right here on Gun Talk Hunt. Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt. All right, Gun Talk Hunters, I'm your host, KJ, and we are back with another exciting episode. And we are now removed or currently at or coming back from SHOT Show when this airs. And I've got Chris Cerino on. We're talking a little bit before the show, but you're hearing it right around the show. So we can, I guess, if we want to, we can divulge some new products here. I'll allow it. We'll just do that. Chris is like, I don't think I'm going to do that. But today on the show, Chris Cerino, welcome in, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is probably my first or second time on Gun Talk Hunt.
It should be. I think it might be your second time.
Could be.
Second or third. We need to have you as more of a regular because you have such great insight on hunting.
I have renewed my love for hunting this year, and I'm excited.
What brought that on?
You know what? Time. I finally got my life in order to where I don't feel bad about going to the woods. Yeah. And there's, my ex-wife used to say, I like hunting and I sit in the woods though, and all I can think about is what I should be doing.
Oh,
and you know what? There's a lot of people like that.
There are.
But once you find your time.
But you gotta sit out there. Like once you sit out there, that's what like keeps drawing me out. And that's why I go for longer and longer stretches out, is because I need that silence. I need that reflection on like what I've been provided for and what nature is and what it means to me and sharing it with others.
Well, we both acknowledged before we even started that spending quality time in the woods, just reflecting on life and your blessings, is something that you can't pay for. The only thing it really costs you is time. It costs you time. And
what else would I be doing? Like, I mean, what else would I want to be doing?
Well, you've got a wife and young kids. Me,
I know.
On the other hand, I'm spending it beating myself to death, trying to get my life in order, get a house together, doing things that I think are important.
Loving on your cats.
Forgetting how important it is to make time for yourself.
You're right. But we've kind of been all over this. But really, it kind of started, Chris and I taught a hunter safety ed course. So this is something that I've wanted to do for a while. And it's kind of me giving back to a sport that's given so much to me and my family. And so we were like, you know what? We could do this. Like Chris is a phenomenal instructor.
It felt good and it felt right. And I have always been a hunter education instructor for many years in Ohio. So when we got the opportunity to go down to, I think we were in Lake Charles, we went down there, we got certified by the state.
Yeah.
And we said, when the hell are we going to do this? Yeah. But we're going to do it. And we taught a class. And when I saw all those kids and I saw all those adults that needed information that is... without that class, it's not accessible because it's all in our heads.
Right. And like we were able to share and, we went through and we did the whole, the slideshows and stuff like that. And we got to watch the old hunter safety videos.
Oh, it was so
and
cool.
I remember those videos when I was going through the class, which is so cool because I had one of my boys was in the class. Jet, he was taking it for the first time. Now he's hunter safety certified and all that good stuff. But it was cool to see him like walking through the same steps that I went through.
Right. So much fun just to have everybody in there. So basically what it all comes down to is it absolutely renewed my desire to get back into the woods. Now, down here in Louisiana, we are absolutely surrounded by fantastic hunting. And where I live...
Well, hold on a second. We say like fantastic hunting. Like it's been tougher for me because I'm doing all public land. And that, I'm telling you, is difficult.
Yeah, well, I'm hunting private land, and I'm blessed to live in the country, be surrounded by acres, thousands of acres that I have access to.
Which is phenomenal.
And there was not a day that I was in the woods this season that I did not think to myself how blessed I was to have that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that every time I get to roll up to Oklahoma or wherever it is across the country or anything like that. So you went out hunting. Let's talk about the nuts and bolts of this. You went out hunting and you were successful every hunt. You're successful every time you go out because you learn new things, you see new things, but man, you brought some meat home.
I absolutely did. And I killed a lot of animals that I did not press the trigger on. I mean, I was in the woods.
I could totally take that doe out.
Yes. I mean, when you can take a picture through your scope of a deer, you know that's a kill. And in my mind, that's a successful hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't have to press the trigger for success.
Right.
Spending the time in the woods and leaving smiling and thinking, wow, this really felt good. That's a successful hunt.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, I actually finally broke down.
I was pressuring him a little bit. I was like, he'd say, "Oh, I saw 2 does today." I'm like, "Well, why aren't you shooting them?" I saw 2 does. Like, what are you waiting on?
The biggest problem I had was the heat here. We had a lot of heat.
Yeah.
And once you press the trigger, the real work starts.
That's when I really like to. I like after I pull the trigger.
Yes, it's a time to have that spiritual moment with the animal. And then you roll up your sleeves and you say, okay, let's get this going.
Time to get to work.
It is so cool. So I've been kind of spoiled because I've been hunting in some boxes, although I did find some spots in the woods where I love to hunt on a bucket. I sit on a 5-gallon bucket. I've done that almost all my life, even with a crossbow. I'm not a bow hunter, guys, so don't hold against me. I would love to be able to, but I don't have that kind of time to put into that kind of practice. It's hard enough for me to even shoot straight with a regular gun.
Yeah, no, I doubt that.
So I love to sit on a bucket, and I found spots, but I was hunting in boxes because it was just easy and I was a little bit spoiled. But the one morning I got out of the box and I thought, you know what, if I don't see anything, I'm just going to creep along and do my thing. Because ultimately it's those creeping along mornings, those creeping along days. That's what makes you one with the land. And that's when you start seeing the trails. You start seeing the scrapes, the rubs. You start finding the tracks and you know what's there. I mean, I saw bobcat tracks and, we saw the bobcat the one evening in the thermal.
I cannot believe, during the evening. Okay.
Well, in the evening, that guy came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, I was creeping along and I finally, I stopped and I thought before I leave this clearing or this trail, this wooded area and step into the clearing, I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Oh, that's how it always happens.
And so I was just about to set my gun down and I looked up and I was like, wow, 2 big fat does at about 75 yards. And I thought, you know what? And as I was aiming at the one big one, I always like to check does heads for buttons. I don't like to shoot button bucks.
No.
I never have if I can avoid it. And I was just looking at him and I was like, wow, that's a nice big one. I think I might blam. And the gun went off.
I like that your finger's on the trigger and you're just applying just that little bit of pressure going, oh yeah, I should. And then it goes off.
And that was my very first, Louisiana whitetail, my very first deer with a 223.
Which that's cool. You had to do a little bit of tracking.
Yeah, because I've only ever rifle hunted out west. This deer I didn't have to track.
Oh,
The doe I shot cleanly in the neck, and she folded right in the optic. I watched her go down, and it was great.
A lot of folks are going to go, well, why do you shoot them in the neck, Chris? Like that's going to be a question because I would do the same thing with a 22-250.
Yes, absolutely.
So give the people a rundown.
Speed kills. I can tell you this, that I tried to shoot her high enough in the neck that I didn't ruin any of the back straps. And despite my best efforts, it was amazing what that does. Number one, it kills them instantly.
Yeah.
Number two, a small caliber round like that generally will poke holes, even if it devastates the insides. And we'll get to the second deer. Even if it devastates the insides, there's not a lot of blood. So if they do run, there's very minimal blood trail. Because I've shot deer with a lot of different straight wall cartridges that were of lesser power.
Right.
And man, it devastated that neck area. I mean, she was dead in an instant. No adrenaline through the meat, no nothing.
Right.
It was absolutely pure, clean kill. No broken guts inside. Easy to clean. No shoulder meat wasted. No nothing.
Yeah.
But boy, I lost a lot in the neck.
Well, yeah, you're going to lose. I mean, that's a sacrifice that you're going to have to make.
And that was a Barnes TSX.
Oh, really?
Solid copper, hollow point.
God, that's nice. That's good. All right, we're going to jump in here from a word from our sponsors. We are brought to you by MGM Targets. Chris knows these targets really well. Chris, how well do these targets work for your training purposes, given like a hunting scenario, training yourself up to go out to your next hunt? What do you think?
MGM targets are fantastic. Number one, because they hold up to rifle fire. All right.
Very important.
You can absolutely practice with your deer guns. You can shoot all their rifle grade stuff, almost everything, at as close as 50 yards. And sometimes 50 yards is completely necessary for practice. And it's so much more satisfying than shooting on paper.
Exactly, because you hear the ting of that steel. Go check them out. Go give them a look. MGM Targets. And Silencer Central. Let's make silence normal again. Like, let's do that because that's important.
Silencer Central is doing more than making silent normal. Silencer Central makes it easy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And we're going to give you a little hint on here. I'm going to ask Chris, and I already know the answer to this, but what do you prefer? Do you prefer direct thread or like a mount?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Back in the early days, direct thread was it. And then QD came along, quick detach. And then you realized you had to have that adapter on every gun that you wanted to use that suppressor on.
And that's where we're getting at. Silencer Central makes it so easy. Their new Speed K, which is their small can, it's like 4 inches long.
So what's that, a 1/2 by 28?
Yeah.
Okay, 1/2 by 28. So if your muzzle adapter fits on a 1/2 28, the can will thread on a 1/2 by 28. Why would you want to put
exactly?
I don't know. And
why would you?
I'm sure it's a Pandora's box opening that.
I know, but Silencer Central makes it easy. Their new Speed K suppressor,
so quiet and little.
It's so quiet, so little. He had it on his Colonel Mustard gun yesterday, and it was absolutely phenomenal.
Hearing safe.
So SilencerCentral.com will get you there. All right, we're going to jump back in here, and we're talking to Chris Cerino. Chris, talk to me about your next deer, which I think is one of the more exciting. It's an exciting hunt, and you had to do a little bit of tracking on this one.
Oh yeah. So same scenario, went to hunt the box in the morning, decided I was only going to sit for a little while because I didn't want to go into the woods because I have to walk a little over a mile to get to where I wanted to sit on my bucket.
Okay.
But I had picked this spot early in the season because I'd been spending a lot of time out there. And I thought, man, I can shoot a deer here. This is definitely buck territory. And I have a knack for finding spots like that. I always have. I can almost always sit down somewhere in the woods and see a deer.
And see it.
So I got out of the box, worked my way down towards the bottom there, about a mile away. And I thought, you know what? It's a little late now, but I've shot so many deer between 11 and 1.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's when everybody gets tired. Everybody gets tired of sitting in the woods. They start hungry. Walking around. They start moving. They get hungry.
That's it.
And so I sat down. I thought, I'm going to spend about a half an hour here. So I sat on my bucket, dead silence, just listening to the woods and enjoying the day. And you know the feeling.
And then here it comes.
And I heard the sound. And I thought, wow.
What a big squirrel.
Could be a squirrel. And then I heard it jump and make like a leap over something. And I thought, no, it's probably a deer. And then I didn't see anything for a little bit. And I thought, yeah, it's probably a squirrel. And then you could see movement.
These gorilla squirrels out there sitting there jumping around in the woods, making you think of giant bucks coming.
So where I'm sitting, I can shoot 100 yards one direction. I can shoot about 50 yards the other direction. And it's really, really thick.
Yeah.
But I'm expecting the deer to come through the thickness so I'm sitting dead still, dead silent, because that's where the deer's coming from. Right. If it materializes out there, it's an easy day.
Yeah.
Well, I could see it coming. And then I saw the glint of antlers. And I thought, oh boy, it's a buck. Here it comes. And man, he was head down, sniffing his way through there. And could have made a couple of tight shots through the thick stuff very close in, but he ended up coming out into that clearing. stopped, looked at me, and I ended up having to shoot left-handed with my left eye.
And this is why you practice offhand shooting.
Off the bucket.
Offhand, left-handed.
Unsupported. And since I was unsupported left-handed, I thought, I'm just going to shoot it through the shoulder because I just didn't want to miss and do something shooting at the neck.
Still the Barnes TSX?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I shot that deer, and I saw him do his thing, and I thought, he's definitely hit, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, needless to say, I definitely hit him. But, man, I had to track him for about 400 yards.
Really?
And
that's a little ways through thick terrain.
Drip. Mm-hmm. Just nothing. I finally found him. He had hooked all the way back around, and I crawled on my hands and knees through thick stuff, following that blood. And I'm dropping toilet paper here and there, putting marks, because I'm like, you never know when your last drop of blood's going to materialize, and you don't want to have to go back looking.
No, you want to look back and go, okay, he's heading this direction, and then you kind of look back over your shoulder and go, okay, I'm heading the right way.
So I found him in some tall grass piled up, looked like he was sleeping. And when I did gut him in the field because I had to, because he was just too big and heavy.
Well, and it's a long trek out because you didn't have your four-wheeler close to you. And you probably couldn't get your four-wheeler back there.
It was heating up. So I had to gut him, and I can tell you this, both lungs were grape jelly.
Yeah.
Did not hit the heart. Broke his other side leg, so the leg that was away from me, left side leg. Somehow he did not make much disturbance through the leaves in the stuff. He left very little blood, but he was deader than a doornail. But man, so if you're going to use a small caliber, if you're going to hunt with those small calibers, you have really got to consider solid marksmanship.
Yes.
Neck shots. And honestly, anytime I can shoot them and kill them and drop them where they stand, you know darn well that the meat is going to be so much better because they don't have that adrenaline rush and all that turmoil.
Well, and I mean, just as overall care of your meat goes, I mean, it's just a lot easier to pile them up right there. That way you don't have to walk an extra 400 yards back the other way.
Ruined a lot of meat too across those shoulders because it went in and out. It went all the way through. Yeah. But killed them dead. But I would highly recommend anybody that's doing any kind of small caliber hunting like that, neck shot.
Neck shot. Just a high neck shot, like a throat patch. I mean
I must have hit him just above the heart because the pericardial sac wasn't even disturbed. But man, the lungs were gone. Like he was gone.
So I guess I guess one of my questions for you on these two deer is, why'd you choose a 223? Why'd you choose a small caliber when I know you have a Ruger SFAR 308, which absolutely would have done the job?
Well, this is an old TSR, Tactical Sporting Rifle from FN that I've had for a really long time. It shoots really, really well. It's a light, small bolt action. And I had loaned out my 6.5. Yeah. So my 6.5 wasn't available to me.
That's the Springfield
Waypoint
2020.
Yep, Waypoint 2020. And I had loaned that out. So and it's legal to hunt with the 223 here. But yeah, I mean, I've shot pigs with 223, and even in the head, man, I've had them walk away.
I've shot them with 204 Ruger. You're sitting there coyote hunting, and here comes some pigs, and I'm not going to let them walk out without a few holes in them.
You kill them dead in the spot, or
dead in the spot.
I mean, and it's all about shot placement. And now, when I shot my last pig with the 223, same rifle. It was only about 75 yards, and it was a headshot. But there were some little branches. Oh. No, I can't say that bullet didn't deflect.
Right.
1, 2, 3 inches on that little tiny piggy brain.
Yeah.
And I know that pig was probably dead somewhere in there, but it had started pouring rain. There was no way I could track blood. There was no blood. There were trails everywhere. And I never recovered that pig.
Man, that sucks. It sucks to not be able to recover them. But I'm okay with leaving holes in them, and because they're going to tear up some field somewhere, and they're a nuisance.
I love to eat them when I can, and this one was like a perfect eating size. Yeah. And I'm like, as I'm pressing the trigger, I'm envisioning breakfast sausage.
Yeah. I did that once this year, and I did that twice this year. I imagined all the different ways I was going to grill this critter up, and I didn't materialize. So is it more important for speed or bullet construction?
Well, bullet construction and speed are directly related.
Right.
So if the bullet comes apart, but you know, these new copper solids, like I've killed a ton of pigs. The biggest hog I ever killed was with a 10 millimeter in Texas.
Yeah.
And that was a hard cast double tap.
Right.
But this one big one that I shot this year was 300 blackout with a Hornady CX, you know, copper expanding, 110 at about 110 yards. And he went 20 feet and piled up, and he was at every bit of 400 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, so shot placement is number one. And same with defensive shooting. We know that shot placement is number one. Number two, having a bullet that performs. When it comes down to mass of a bullet, my thing is this. I grew up in Ohio shooting single projectile shotgun, so hunting with slugs for deer. One of the things you could always do with that 12 gauge slug was shoot through anything that was in your way, and you were going to hit the deer.
Limbs, trees, anything.
Right. But then when you start lightening the bullet, you got to worry about where you're going to hit. If it's a blade of grass, is it a little stick that's hanging? And
it's the same with arrows.
Well, yes, exactly. And if you hunt like I hunt, which is, I always go to the thick stuff.
Yeah.
I always go thick. You got to have something that can buck the brush.
Yeah.
That's why the 30-30 was a favorite back in the day.
Yeah. Still favored today. Okay, so moving past, so we got the hunt out of the way. You also did something else different than you have beforehand.
Yeah.
In processing the deer skull and doing a Euro mount.
Well, I did two things. One is I didn't gut the doe, so I did the gutless method for the very first time. So that was a new experience for me, and it worked out great. And I managed to keep the tenderloins without getting into all the guts.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And I also took my deer skull, and I had Mr. KJ here teach me how to do a true European mount. So I skinned out the skull myself.
Yeah.
And he got me started. I skinned out the skull.
I didn't get him started. I just said, here's how I do it. I start here, then work. You know, I start on the front of that mouth. Like you get all that back as far as you can around that mouth. And then you start on the back nubs of the antlers, and almost you can go a Y.
Yeah.
Just gives you practice on if you're ever going to cape it out. It gives you practice, and it's a good way to do it.
So I managed to get all that off. It was great because we had some cool weather. That head sat for a couple days, and it was still not a problem.
Still easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Got it all peeled off, took it home, boiled it. Maybe I had to boil it 3 times.
Yeah.
Because the first time I did 2 hours, like you said, and it really wasn't enough. But you have to worry about, I don't want to ruin the beautiful color on the base of the antlers, which if you wrap that in tin foil and get really meticulous about how you wrap it down to those skull bases, man, they came out perfect. You can't even tell it was boiled.
You can't. You absolutely can't tell. And then, so you boiled it. I'd like to keep it around 2.5 hours, just for that, because I like to kind of monitor it.
2.5 now. You told me 2 hours.
2 hours.
You told me
no, 2 hours is what I like to keep.
2.5 would have been better.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I usually keep it at 2 because I want to monitor, because I don't want anything separating or. And then I take it out and I power wash it.
Yep, and that's what I did. I took it out. I power washed it just like you told me to. Didn't make a tremendous amount of mess. Separated the lower jaw at that point, which was easier. And then I boiled it again, and then I did one last short boil just because I had really struggled with the sinus cavity and getting stuff out of there. The cartilage just wasn't coming out for me, but it came out absolutely beautiful. And the only thing I really have left to do with it is just a little bit of tune-up for some cartilage here and there.
Yeah, and then hydrogen peroxide it, and it's good. And then it's going to be bleach it. It'll bleach it out.
So not only did I shoot a couple of deer, first time in, it's been years.
When's the last time you shot a deer? Not this year.
It has been
like 10 years?
More before my divorce. So we're talking at least 3 plus. I would hunt with the kids and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't have a desire.
But when did you?
I haven't shot a deer, and geez, oh man, it's got to be 8-10 years.
Okay. Yeah. Dude, it's great to have you back.
Oh my God. It was just so good to be in the woods. All my skills are still there. I could still gut a deer without, making a mess out of it. I had my trusty rope with me. I've had that rope for 30 years. I would have brought it in today and shown you if I remember.
What was I was trying to tell him, he showed me the, his doe laying on the ground, and then I texted him. He's like, it's going to be a long hike, drag out. And I was like, well, how about, or no, it was on your buck. I was like, well, how about, so where you cut above the tarsal glands in between the tendon and the bone, where you hang them typically on
at the knees.
At the knees. Yeah, basically right above there, there's that gap of basically just skin and
and fur.
And I was like, just cut one side and stick the opposite leg through the other, and it gives you a good little handle. It's so easy.
The only thing is, I hate to drag them backwards like that.
Yeah, because all the hair.
All the hair. It's like friction,
Oh yeah.
But I got everything done. My skills are still good. My intuitions are still good about hunting, folks. If you are one of those people that hasn't shot a deer in years, you have to ask yourself why. And Kevin and I talked about this. KJ and I call him Kevin. I'm probably one of the only people that do.
He has him and my wife.
KJ and I talked about it before we started this, and I said, how you get success in hunting is time in the woods. You have to spend time in the woods, and you don't have to be hunting. You can go out there and just go for a walk and go antler shed hunting. You can go out and just be scouting. You can go out squirrel hunting, but all that time you spend in the woods gives you that extra advantage.
Yeah.
Doing that and then understanding what deer like. And you have to remember that, of course, deer will take the path of least resistance. They like trails. There's no doubt about it. But when they feel pressure, deer go tight. Yeah. They want to be in the tight stuff, the thick stuff. And I have never gone wrong by hunting the thick.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you just got to think of there's three things that deer want and need to do. They need to breed. They need to live. I mean,
food, water, and shelter. Yeah. And shelter is the thick stuff. I mean, where are you going to bed down? I mean, they're going to bed down in a position of advantage. Yeah. And one of the best positions of advantage is to be in the thick stuff, because if something starts coming into the thick stuff, they will absolutely hear it.
Oh yeah.
Because no one sense that they use to survive is the end all, the be all. It's when you violate multiples. You make noise and you smell bad, or you make a lot of movement and you smell bad, or you make movement and you make noise.
Like, just hunt the wind.
Yeah, well, and that was the day up to a point. The buck. I had the wind was in my favor the whole walk. Yeah, and I thought to myself as I was walking, I was like, "Wind's in our favor.
This is perfect.
Wind's in our favor."
Yeah. So, I had a hunt on top of one of your hunts, and we're just going to breeze right through this because I know we're kind of running out of time here. But and honestly, it's a quick hunt. So Oklahoma has a holiday antlerless season, and so my plan was right before the New Year, I was going to run out because season ended on December 31st, New Year's Eve, and so I was going to run out. I was going to hunt for a day and a half. And this is an 11-hour drive. It's an 11, 12-hour drive.
He's nuts.
Well, my truck isn't broken down, but it's got the check engine light that comes on at the most inappropriate time ever. And so I'm like, you know what? I call a mechanic buddy of mine. I call another guy that works on trucks, a friend of mine. And I'm like, can I go to Oklahoma? And they're like, you really shouldn't. You probably shouldn't do that. So I'm like, okay. So I get the truck in the shop. 2 days later, I'm like, well, my hunt's ruined. I can't go. And this is Friday night. Season ends on Sunday. It's a long trip up to Oklahoma. You get 2 does. You can shoot 2 does. It's a long trip up. It's a long trip back. And so Friday night, I'm sitting there on the couch and I'm going, I'm going to go. I'm going to do it. I mean, why not? Like, let's give it a go. Let's see if I can, kill 2 does and what ended up being less than 24 hours. And so,
in 5 minutes.
Yeah. In 5 minutes. Yeah, pretty much. So at 2:00 in the morning, I get in the truck and I start driving. I get there and I'm camping out. It's low of like 27 degrees or something like that. So I camp out. I do a short walk, to go hunt, and I kind of observe everything because I'm one of those like get far away, observe, and move guys. Like that's what I like to do. I like to get away. I want to look at stuff. I want to see how the woods are shaping up, and then I'll press in. I'll start to get very intimate with the woods after I kind of get back and I look. So that evening I just spent watching. If something comes up, great, I'll shoot it. And I saw about, I probably saw about 20 to 25 does that night. $2, only $2. No, $3. And I also brought my bow just in case I tagged out real quick and I wanted to squeeze in a little bit of extra bow hunting.
You're crazy.
I know. It's a sickness. It really is. So nothing within sight. Perfect. This is awesome. So go camp out that night. Great time. By myself. A little small fire. And then I go to bed and it's, 27 degrees and it feels great. Wake up in the next morning, I push in a little bit more and I do what Chris does. And this is a great like little tip for you guys. Don't press in immediately. There's no reason to push stuff out when you can't see where you're going.
Yeah, when you can't see, why not get to where you can hunt when the sun comes up and then move?
Yes, and that's exactly what I did. I sat there on a little overlook and I'm sitting there watching the earth wake up and nature wake up. And then I'm like, okay, time to move. Like, and I know travel routes. I know, okay, they need food if they need water, but I knew they're food focused because the temperatures were starting to drop. So I make my way around and I'm coming back to set up on a ridge overlooking a bottom where I know they come into bed. Well, I'm sitting there walking and I look up and it looks like two like Slender Man figures sitting there looking at me at like 85 yards away. And I'm like, oh, there they are. And these were the two that I saw the night before that I'm like, I know I can go that area and I can kill those two. And sure enough, right there, 6.5 Creedmoor. Actually, it was the Cross, Sig Cross is what I was using.
Nice.
Which I love that gun. They were sitting there, dropped them both, went in, got them cleaned up on the tailgate. And so I don't have the hook and everything and the gambrel. And I don't have that because I don't have a lot of space that I can dedicate to like dragging that out or a trailer hitch thing. I know all those products are out there.
Everyone needs to see your tailgate at some point.
Well, it's a new tailgate now because I got a new truck. Like, so, but my tailgate usually you'll find some bits on it. But I clean them all. I quarter them out and everything right on the tailgate. And I have become so efficient with that method that I really honestly prefer working there because I'm working at hip height. I don't have to table. Yeah, it's a butcher table. It's all it is. Mm-hmm. So I've found that works out really well for me, especially when I start quartering. And 2 deer, gutless method. I use the gutless method. And the reason that I hate the gutless method, the one reason.
The weight.
No. I can't get to the heart.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can always go in and get it.
I mean, but you're still gutting. Yeah. Like you're still...
To open the rib cage, you got to go through the diaphragm and all that. Yep.
Right. So that's the reason I don't like the gutless method a lot. But in this instance, it works out really well. Like if I'm not having to drag out a bunch, it helps out a lot. But yeah, and then I had those two completely cleaned off my tailgate and camp packed up in an hour and 15 minutes.
And you were on the road.
And I was on the road. And it was almost, when I was leaving Altus, it was 24 hours almost exactly.
Wow.
A 24-hour trip. And that's, I don't mind driving.
Yeah, you could have come 40 minutes north and shot a doe if you wanted to, but hey,
yeah.
Next year we're going to spend some time in the woods together, and before deer season, we are definitely going to be in the hogwoods.
Yes, that's going to happen. Oh, we have a big announcement to make, and this is how we're going to end the show. We're going to end the show on a really huge announcement.
Oh yeah, this is exciting.
Do you know what I'm going to say?
Yep.
So on February, is it 13th, 14th, or 14th, 15th?
Something like that.
Something like that. Chris and I we're going out to shoot some rats. We are going to a Nutra Rat rodeo, and Chris and I are teaming up with our good buddy Jacob Welch, who has been on the show Build Box and First Person Defender.
Yeah.
And we are a team in search of Nutra Rat.
It sounds like we're Nutria rats.
Nutra Rat.
We're doing it all from boats, it sounds like.
Yes.
And it's going to be at night, so it's going to be thermals or night vision. And we have been diligently preparing some guns and gear.
We're so excited.
And we are excited because I've never shot a giant guinea pig, but I'm looking forward to it. And I'm also looking forward to boiling a couple of skulls.
Yeah, because they look great, and it helps the ecosystem because they are an invasive species.
They are.
And they are decimating the coastline. So any help we can do, and there's a bounty on them.
Yeah, there's a bounty on them. So
yeah, that's how we're going to end the show. And I think our next show together will be a recap of the Nutra Rat Rodeo.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
All right. Thanks, Chris, for joining. All right. All you gun talk hunters, you know the drill. You know what to do. Keep those muzzles pointing in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.